I was, dealing with appearing on TJ Maxx billboards, and then I would be awake at 4 a.m. thinking of death and talking to a banana that I would hallucinate lived in my cupboard because I had such bad insomnia that I wouldn't sleep for 3 days in a row. Really not okay.
All right. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Open Relationships Transforming Together. My name is Andrea Miller, and I'm joined by co-host Joanna Schroeder and our amazing producer, Brian Adkins. And we are doing this show because there is a relationship crisis happening in America. There is so much hurt and heartache. And if you're like, nah, not me, I'm just going to say, gosh, are you able to talk to the people that you love most, maybe about difficult political differences? Or, gosh, do you feel like you have to swallow things that you want to talk about because you just feel like somebody can't necessarily hear it? There are so many ways for us to be more open in our relationships and these are the things that help us heal and thrive as human beings. And it is profoundly important. So that's why we're doing this show. We're so glad you've tuned in. We've got an amazing guest. Her name is Jordan Reid. And with no further ado, we would love to introduce Jordan. We've got a great show teed up. So here's Jordan.
Yep, we have her waiting right here in the lobby, and we can connect her in just a second.
Yay. There she is. Welcome,
Wow.
Jordan Reid. Jordan Reid is an online creator who helped pioneer the early electrifying culture of personal blogging. She created the super popular lifestyle website Ramshackle Glam in 2009 and is followed by hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. Jordan is one of the earliest high-profile victims of online takedown culture who transitioned into writing super successful best-selling mental health books like The Big Activity Workbook for Anxious People. Jordan has a surprising little-known history with one of the longest-running TV shows in the U.S., which we will come back to, and so much more. Welcome, Jordan.
Yay!
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here. Okay, you went from going to Harvard for cognitive neuroscience to becoming a very popular online influencer. You share your writing is beautiful and compelling. You share a ton about yourself that's so relatable and hilarious and inspiring and heartbreaking. And you have paid a huge, brutal price for it. What happened to you in all of that, and what does that have to do with bullying in today's cancel culture?
Oh, goodness gracious. That's a big question. So I was an actress. After Harvard, I went to LA and I became an actress and found it emotionally challenging, let's just say. And I ended up realizing that I think the reason I had wanted to be an actress wasn't so much that I loved acting. It was more like actors to me seemed to be listened to. It seemed like when they said something, like the magazines paid attention or whatever, and that I found that very appealing, the idea of just having someone hear what I had to say. Mm-hmm. Then I went into blogging and it was before, I didn't even know what a blog was when I signed up to do this, except for Perez Hilton. I had a friend explain to me what a hyperlink was. I wrote my first blog post on a computer and printed them out and had them in a binder just to it was very analog. And then it really did take off, but as it took off, it was also the very early era of sort of online trolling, which we, nowadays we understand what it means when people are, haters online. I think we have a better cultural understanding of why the distance provided by a computer screen gives people the ability
anonymity, along with anonymity, right?
Exactly. And they can say, obviously, this is the most vicious things, but that's not news anymore. We all know this, and people still say things about me. I promise you, I could not possibly care less. Bring it.
Thank God.
No, I've
Good
heard
for
it.
you.
Am I ugly? Yeah, I've heard it. Am I dumb? Heard it. Am I a bad parent? Yes, I know. I've heard it. But in the beginning, it felt like it really was about me.
Right.
There weren't that many people doing what I did. And there was this site that it's called Get Off My Internets Now. It's probably the most prominent like internet hater site. But in the beginning, when it was first created, it was called Reblogging Ramshackle Glam, which was my site. Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
this woman,
I did not know that. Oh my God. You triggered people. What the heck?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, but the things they were making fun of were like her recipes dumb. Like her shoes are stupid. Like
pain.
I know, but it was literally every single thing, and it was every day, all day long. And that was during a time I was pregnant with my first son, and they were going after like how I'd be a terrible mother, and that's a hard thing to read about when you're terrified of being a terrible mother because you've never done it before.
Did you read? What did you do?
Obsessively.
Did you read? You read everything? Because I would have been like, no, I don't think I care about that. I mean, I don't know because I haven't been there.
I had to. It felt like there were people slamming on my windows, and I had to at least like see who they were and like understand the threat.
From a biological perspective,
yes,
your brain thinks threat. I need to be aware of this threat, and so I can protect myself.
Yes. So that morning that I had my son, I remember they took him and they put him in the nursery so I could have a nap, and I started to lay down, and then I went. And I was like, oh my God, I put his name on my Facebook page, my private lockdown Facebook page. I put like, welcome River. And they had already someone had gotten his like Twitter handle or something. And it was already making fun of him. And it was just, it does. And when you're in the hormones and everything, it felt like being under physical attack.
You're under assault. You have 2 kids. So are they aware of what you've gone through? Do they find this archived information about you?
I've talked about it with them extensively because, and it was funny. Like I've been bringing it up with them since they were little. Like, why do we think people are mean online, or why do we think people are mean in person? Yeah, and it's generally because something feels bad in the person who's being mean.
It's about them, right? It's like it is and it's hard. You got to be like a guru to say it's them, not me. Right. And I feel like that's been your journey. It's like not cratering,
Well, which doesn't mean that I'm perfect and there's nothing assailable about me. It means that if someone can get to the point where they need to verbally attack a stranger, it doesn't mean that they're not right. It just means that's a wild thing to do.
That's that balance of like, and I had to learn that writing publicly too, was it's like, you have to have like a filter. Some of it does sometimes have to seep in because I've been wrong. You've been wrong. We've said things wrong. We have ways we can grow. But the hardest thing is figuring out what to filter out and what to let in, because you can't sit there worrying about, oh my gosh, I'm going to wear this new lipstick and someone's going to do 400 memes about my face. But but there are parts you got to take in.
You want to hear a story about the time I broke the internet?
Yes, please.
So I decided to document our cross-country move from New York to San Jose. And we went through the South, and we went through the hot springs in Arkansas, and like up through Santa Fe. So while we were in Arkansas, I decided I would write about racism in the Deep South. This was not.
And what year are we talking about? Like, are we talking
2015? It was not a great time for me to be writing about this. Yeah, oops. So I had to like take down my site because it was just this like wave of, and it was like, how dare you write about this, or how dare you not know about this, or how. And what it came down to is I got this one comment from a woman who was a longtime reader, and she was like, Jordan, this is a really offensive article, but let me explain why. And she was like, the reason why is that nobody needs to hear it from you.
Yeah.
Nobody needs a liberal girl, like a little white girl from New York City, strolling into Arkansas and opining on the state of race relations.
Let me ask you, what was your intention? Because to me, that's so important. Like what, and I understand people saying, well, you don't have it. It's not in your place. But part of me even wants to push back on that. Like what, what's your intention, right? Because maybe what
That
you
is how I
say-
pushed back. That's how I felt at first. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm sorry, I'm writing about what I am experiencing in the world, and that's the point of my site. But this woman got through to me, and she was like, it's great. Write about your experience. Don't write about this. You don't know enough. You are not the voice that people need to hear about this. Sit back, let someone else have a platform on your site if you choose.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really powerful realization. And that's actually shaped a lot of my subsequent work, because when you're a content creator, for 12 years, you're writing. I wrote every single day for 12 years.
Wow.
And that's a lot of words. And eventually I was like, God, I am so sick of hearing from myself.
Yeah.
And so I don't really blog up that much anymore.
Right.
Because if I say something, I want it to be for a reason,
Mhm.
not just to hear myself talk. And I might not be the best voice for all topics.
And that's fair, and that's wisdom, right? And what I love about your story is that you are wise enough to say, well, you know what? Some of those criticisms were warranted, even if they came from a bullying place. Like, that is a superpower to me, right? For people to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm also
Mhm.
flawed and human. It's just you're doing it so much more publicly. Usually we hear it from our spouses or our kids or, coworkers or whatever. No, but I do admire that. But I find that really interesting. So it's like, as a, and I appreciate your sensitivity to the feedback that you got about writing about racism in the Deep South. But part of me says, ooh, isn't that what's getting us, into cancel culture and anti-wokeism and all this stuff, where it's like, people with sincere intentions are curious or sharing a point of view. And it's kind of like, it feels like it's kind of like, it feels like that is the intolerance that we're trying to, weed out of our world. I don't know. It feels like it's a double-edged sword to me.
I do feel like
It
we've
is.
evolved a little bit too, in that at that point in 2015, there were so many people saying things like that in order to just shine the light on themselves.
Exactly.
And that was never great.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably a
No.
lot of people got pushback for seeming like they did that, even though they had good intentions. And I feel like now, and because I've had it happen to me online, that now people are more willing to be like, hey, here's where you screwed up. And then if you're like, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, I feel like people now back off more. But
Yes.
certainly
Yes.
in 2015, 2011, holy smokes, you were ruined forever. And that never got
for everything.
anywhere.
And like, yes.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what? I think there's also, the rise of like therapy speak, and we're all like better at that now. And we all know what boundaries mean and everything. And like the Jonah Hill thing, I loved that story. It was just
Well, hang on. Tell the
give it
Jonah
to
Hill
me.
story, because I don't think everybody knows
God. Oh, so Jonah Hill, his ex-girlfriend published these screenshots of messages he had sent her that were like, my boundaries include you not surfing with men, not having friendships with women who are problematic, and not wearing skimpy bathing suits and posting your photos on Instagram. And those are my boundaries. And if you can't respect those, and I was like, ooh, sir, those aren't boundaries.
That's not
Yeah,
boundaries.
that's control. Those are control issues. Amen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And she was literally like an Instagram model
And
and a surfer,
surf
like
teacher.
Yeah.
She was a surfing Instagram model. So he was like,
Yeah, like, totally stop your life to be my girlfriend.
yeah, right.
Ay,
But
ay,
so the rise of this like greater awareness of therapy speak has been difficult in those situations. But like when I talk to my ex-husband now, instead of being like, well, you're wrong and you're this, you're that, I think it's similar to what we were talking about with like a ability to take criticism, and the answer is just listening. I think just being like, wait, you're upset, instead of going straight into defense. Like, I'm allowed to write about whatever I want. I'm allowed to write about racism in the South, or it's wait. What are you feeling? Like, what are you thinking? Can you explain that more to me?
I love it.
Because people just want to be heard. Even internet trolls. I've engaged with some of them, and I am I was writing partners for years with a woman who I met because she was a troll of mine on the internet.
Oh, no way. Oh,
Yeah,
love
because we
that.
just
Love that turnaround.
started talking and communicating, and now I just visited her in New York.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great story. It just gives me hope. And I feel like what you're saying is so core to our show, this whole, deficit in our world of listening and being sincerely curious, right? Here on Open Relationships, we're really sincerely, we are on a freaking mission. I'm trying not to say the real F word. I'm like, try not to.
Oh, good. Okay, I won't either.
I mean, no, you can, but I'm like, I'm going to start to offend people, so I'm trying not to. No, but the whole idea, and we always say, someone has to go first. Love and openness starts with me, right? So I love. I just give you such big props for having the courage to grow up emotionally and to say, oh, it's on me to listen. Oh, it's on me to be curious, and what a gift to have that experience where you end up endearing yourself to the troll. Like, isn't that, in fact, we just had an experience with my son. He and his Spanish teacher, like, totally got off on the wrong foot, blah, 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 like, weird tangent. But man, my 13-year-old, he figured it out, and now they're pals. And I just feel like I love to highlight these stories, because so often I feel like the instinct is, I have an enemy, and I'm going to hold on tight to the enemy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to insist on the enemy. And it's like, no, don't do that. It's poison to our hearts and mind to have that judgment and resistance, right?
It feels like a very Generation X or elder millennial kind of thing too, because I'm very quick to be self-protective. So like if someone's coming at me or someone's criticizing me, my first instinct is like, F you, I'm fine, leave me alone. And I kind of assume the worst. And I think it's self-protective, okay? And I wonder if now that softness, it's scary. It's scary to be vulnerable like that. But I wonder if that softness comes from like a more authentic strength or feeling like you're more secure.
Gosh, I think so. I think the knee-jerk defensiveness is something that like, even with my parenting, like if my kid, like when I was younger and they were younger, I was a lot more like, stop crying, like, what's that? And that was something I had to consciously be like, wait. What's going on? There's a need. Tell me.
That's wisdom.
Yeah. And that is not something I had the capacity to do before. And it was very much tied to control. To like, you're crying. This is not what I want to be happening right now.
But that's the whole point. I mean, I feel like that's we get to reparent each other. Okay, I got this great meme or quote this morning from somebody, and it's just perfect for this. Your immediate reaction does not tell you who you are. It is how you decide to respond after the reaction that gives you real insight into how much you have grown. Your first reaction is your past. Your intentional response is your present. And that was written by Young Pueblo. And it's like, that's it. That's how we grow up emotionally. And I feel like as parents, especially as moms, like, oh, what a gift to get it right and to keep practicing getting it right and showing your kids how to get it wrong and then how to say sorry and get it right. Right? Isn't that a gift?
I love that you're doing that with your ex-husband. Yeah. We never hear about ex-husbands. Like, we never hear about how to...
Except for what jerks they are.
Yeah. You never hear about how to be a better co-parenting partner with your ex-husband in a way that makes you more vulnerable.
That was a big shift for us. So with my ex, we were obviously very contentious when we broke up, because it tends to get to that kind of point when you break up marriage. But the big turning point for me in our relationship was stopping and realizing, oh, did I play in this? And not to self-flagellate and be like, I'm terrible, he's great. No, it's just two people. And he hurt me, I hurt him. And just the willingness to listen to each other. And I've said to him, I am sorry. I am so sorry that I hurt you in these ways. And, and it feels so much better. And it's so good for the kids.
Well, I just want to tease out that little nugget that you just kind of snuck in there. What you have done is have been accountable. And to me, that is the path to freedom. And it is the only path to freedom, right? If we continue to tell ourselves that everything we're doing is just fine, it prevents growth, right? Don't you think? And it prevents intimacy, right? Because if everything I'm doing is just fine and it's you, I mean, that's like we're dehumanizing ourselves, but it takes a lot of effing courage to do what you have done. So big props.
Well, I
Jordan.
struggle with, the difference between accountability and living in shame. So that's where I have to be careful and not to go so far into being willing
Where you
to
dehumanize yourself,
admit
right?
my faults that I'm like, oh my God, I am awful. So that is a balance that I think is important to find.
I love your writing, Jordan. You are such a beautiful writer and funny and just like, oh, I want to be friends with her. So here we are. But I want to read this in you speaking about the heartache of your divorce, and props to you and your ex, and what a gift to give to your kids. But I love this, and I felt like it was so, it really hit me in the chest, and I'm sure it'll hit others. So you said, I do not know how to be alone. I've jumped from relationship to relationship my entire adult life. I want someone, anyone, to help me through this because I'm not sure I know how to make myself feel better all on my own. I've never really had to do it. I told Francesca this last night after the kids went to bed and the house was quiet and the sadness came in and smacked me in the face. I said I was furious with myself for feeling so stupid lonely, for wallowing in self-pity, when really, shouldn't I be Cher dancing in the kitchen? Reference to that movie. Mermaid, thank you. You know what Francesca said? She said that the journey I'm on isn't about making a new life, in quotes, or in quotes, finding happiness again. It is both those things to some extent, but really it's about figuring out how to love myself by myself. Have you done that?
Not yet, but I'm closer. There was this woman I met on a retreat shortly after I got divorced, and it was like a women's writer retreat thing, and I was there to speak. And I was like this shell-shocked little new divorcee. Like I cried through my whole talk. It was like super professional. And we went on a walk in the woods.
Good.
Oh, so embarrassing. But this woman was like, hey, you know what I do when I'm feeling really bad? She was like, I picture my future self, the me that, me 20 years from now, 25 years from now. And I picture that me holding myself as I am right now. And then I can go back and think about myself when I was younger, and I can realize I'm holding me now. I am holding that younger version of myself. And I am telling her, your most amazing moments haven't even happened yet. And I can know that that's true because my future self is telling me the same thing right now.
Oh, that is
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's compelling. I mean, I think similarly, it's like, ooh, the best, I'm on a major personal journey too. And I keep like every day, it's like, ooh, the best is yet to come. And it's like, oh goodness, we need the grief and the failure and the heartbreak to help us. I feel like ultimately figure it all out. But I take your point. I think it's a really good one. Finding that fine line between, you described shame and accountability, but I would even add there is something perversely familiar with the grief and the heartache. And I feel like it takes a lot of courage and wisdom, right? Because I feel like you move out of grief too fast and then you find yourself back there saying, what the bleep? I thought I was done with this. Yeah. Or if and you're listening to the, those sad songs that just, kind of make you feel like, oh gosh, it feels so good. But then you're feeling kind of alone and isolated. So it does feel like it's this very personal decision, very personal unfolding for when to say, okay, I'm really ready to move on now versus no, I need a little bit longer to go into my grief and into my heartbreak and loss enough so that I actually can move on. Have you had that? Have you kind of grappled with that?
So right after we split up, I was like, I have like 30 seconds left before I turn into the crypt keeper. And I live in, LA. So.
Okay. Right.
I was like, yes. But so I just threw myself into dating and was constantly and like had a succession of, extremely short-term boyfriends who were disappointing for various reasons. I haven't dated in 18 months. And I was feeling really like, God, like I have got to like stop hiding in my house. But I talked to a friend and she was like, may I venture that you have lived many lives in the past 42 years. And maybe this is a moment where you're gaining the strength. You're resting up. Just let yourself rest up. It's okay. And then I went on a date the other night and it was terrible. So now I learned my
You're like, okay, let me take that advice. Rest up a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more.
But I think that, I feel like that is so much of what we seekers and Joanna and I have talked at length about the hurt and heartache from our respective upbringings and living in families with a lot of addiction and alcoholism and so forth, and how that shapes you and shapes your life, and how you eventually say, hey, I don't want this anymore, and I don't want it for my kids, I don't want it for my for anything. But it feels like it really is having to trust yourself to know, when should I rest up, to your point, and when is it time to say no mas, I'm ready to take that step forward. And I don't know if there's an easy answer. I feel like it's trying to we each have to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you can twist it and view it as a rebellion. Rest is a rebellion in our society.
Oh,
it is.
Yes.
Yes.
I
mean,
yeah.
When I gave up my kids when they were little. I was like, they had to be in all the things. And like every day was like music or dance, and they were miserable. They hated it. I hated it. It was expensive. And during COVID, everything went away. And now, like, they do a couple things, but I'm just not. I feel inadequate as a mom because I see my friends' kids like entering piano competitions in China or wherever, and I'm like, I just want to let them be kids and let them figure out where they want to spend their time. Well, and the holidays, it's like you don't go on Instagram during the holidays. Just delete. You're like, everyone looks gorgeous and they're going to parties. You know what I did last Sunday? I played this game called Geometry Dash for 6 hours. Geometry Dash, 6 hours with my kids on the couch. I did nothing. It was amazing. I don't feel bad about it.
Amazing. That is,
and it's
awesome.
Nice to tell them it is okay to rest.
Yeah. And to have fun. And so I want to ask you about comparison culture. So this is something that we at Your Tango have been really passionately digging into, doing research around, advocating for, not to stop it, because we know there's something very insidious and almost instinctive, but to raise awareness around it. So when people find themselves comparing, they go, oh, I know what's happening there, and are more empowered to, if you will, deal with it, I guess. And so I would love your take on comparison culture. Is this something that you've had to, you're an influencer. Is this something you felt like you've had to grapple with more than the average bear?
I probably. When I first started really leaning into like really just making a fantastic living off of influencing and like getting the really big contracts. This would have been like 2013 to 17 or in there. And I actively refused to like look at any other, influencers, websites or Instagrams, because every time I did, I was like, oh my God, I am doing everything
I'm not
wrong.
doing enough. Right. Or I'm doing everything wrong. Right. That those
they were
terrible
all
things.
supermodels. At the time, it was like the rise of like the super rich, tall, and with the Vogue, they had like Vogue layouts on their websites. And I was like, I cannot do this. And I really believe that the reason I was able to do pretty well for some extended period of time was that I just did my own thing. And it was untainted by, a desire to like keep up with the Joneses that way. And now I'm not doing it anymore. But when I got divorced, I remember I had to like unfollow all these accounts that my assistant had followed when she was running my social were like, happy family, a lot of Mormon moms. Oh, God bless. But
are you Mormon?
And But there's a lot of Mormon mom influencers. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, got it.
And we
just
have
the
not indoctrinated Andrea into the Mormon mom world yet, but
Oh,
now
not too
I feel
late.
like we should. We have,
They have
talk about
bajillions of followers.
Oh, wow.
But it's like the perfect house and all the families
Perfect.
and the matching onesies and the blonde, they're
Yeah.
all blonde.
Oh my God,
and,
I can't stand those people.
and I was like, I'm like sitting here like a little husk of a person, like wondering if my children are okay. And I just was like, I have to unfollow all of these people that are making me feel so bad about myself.
Yeah.
And I told my friend about that, and she was like, well, that's Jordan, that's you. And I was like, what? And she was like, maybe not in that way or to the same extent, but that's the content you've been putting out for 10 years.
Spank.
So you
She
make
kept it
people feel that way
real.
too.
Well, not made.
And I
Let's
was
be
like,
real, but not made.
Well, I still have it a little bit, Jordan. Like when I see you on Instagram, and it's good that we see each other at school drop off. So we know what we really look like, right? So, but when I see you on Instagram, I'm like, oh, yeah, Jordan's so beautiful. And look how
And
fun she is. And she
cool.
did this fun
And
little
stylish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got
And
it going on.
See,
Yeah,
I
isn't
don't
that
feel
funny?
that way
You
at
don't-
all. That is.
Yeah, but we curate our lives. And I've had people say to me like, oh my gosh, how are you doing all the things you're doing? How are you balancing it all and you keeping it together? I'm like, yo, I am not keeping it together. It's real bad. It's so bad over here.
Yeah.
Like just out of frame, you should see the pile of dirty laundry. It's right there.
Yeah, right behind her, right
Is
behind the.
Towards the end, when I was doing the blog thing, where I started doing photo series, where I would do the photo that I was, whatever I was photographing, and then I would just include photos like in a 360 around it at the
God
bottom of the
bless you.
post,
I
just to
love
be like,
that. We need some
Yeah.
of those.
Well,
for
that's
comparison culture.
And that's our campaign, and we will love to indoctrinate and just endear our cause with you. But our hashtag is, as we launch this, keep it real, and we are asking people who are active on social media, share that really fun, curated, perfect picture, but also keep it real. Like I love to tell the story of I took my son to see the Chiefs play the Broncos. It was a big effing disaster because the Chiefs didn't score in the second half and there wasn't even a touchdown. But we had the picture perfect moment in the jerseys and at the Broncos Stadium, and it's snowing. But like 3 hours before that, he was being an entitled 13-year-old, and I shouted at him. And by the way, I don't advocate for shouting at children or anybody. I was shouted at a lot as a kid, and so I just But I feel like
I shouted
that
this
kind of
morning.
thing. Okay, well, thanks for keeping it real.
No, it's so hard to get all these children out the door, even when they're big. And
yes.
God, in the morning,
the mornings are so
do you hear
hard.
my voice? Do you hear my voice raising? Do you hear the tension
Yes,
in my voice?
I'm
Please
trying
don't
not
make me
to.
That's fine. I'm getting to that place, and then I get to that place.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm
Understand.
trying so hard not to, but I really applaud that. And I applaud your friend. Again, open relationships, our mission here is to help people find ways to be more open and tell those hard truths. And I just applaud your friend for saying that to you, because it can be hard. I mean, I feel like it is hard to have those scary conversations. But that's, I feel like, what people that really care about each other to help us see. I like to call it the BS. The BS, the blind spot, the belief system, right? That is often preventing us from, being as fulfilled and content and joyful as we can be as human beings. I mean, having those blind spots, it's an impediment. And so I think, props to your pal for saying, you know what, Jordan, that's what you did. And again, there are so many people that follow you that obviously love not just your great style and, kind of cool effect, but, you have something like, gosh, I don't think we're going to get through it all today, but what you've talked about in terms of things that are so hard and so personal, like anorexia, anxiety, so much doubt around parenting. I mean, I feel like as a mom, like that's almost the worst. And that kind of starts, I feel like, to fill a weird cycle. Like, why are we so hard on ourselves as moms?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like you're really hard on yourself as a mom? I mean, I know you do, but I guess I just have to ask the rhetorical question.
Yeah, I'm real hard on myself. That to me, over time became the mission of my site. My personal mission was to, I guess, people are like, how do you talk about those things? I'm like, I don't know. How do you not?
Yeah, how do you not?
Like, how do you not? I know that I overshare, and I know that when I meet someone new, I'm like, "Bro," and like just tell them all like the stuff, because I don't really see the point of we're sending out your representative, and why? Like, what's the
Sending
point?
out your representative.
That's a good phrase.
Oh,
I
and
love
with
that.
love
dating
that. Yes.
too. I'm like this bad date I went on. I'm like, I know how to send out my representative. I know how to show up and be like, and I'm just not.
Oh my God,
not
that's so sweet.
going to giggle at you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not. I'm just going to
Yeah.
be a person who dresses like myself and who has a conversation and doesn't like turn on the whatever. I know what works, and I'm not doing it anymore.
But don't you feel
Yeah.
like that's so endemic, and not to generalize, but I'm going to generalize a little bit here. I mean, I feel like as women, so often we default into that people pleasing. We default into a kind of making it okay for other people, right? And I feel like that ends up causing all sorts of maladies in our lives, because then we're not able to be true to ourselves, right? Because we're trying to make somebody else feel comfortable, and we're sending out that representative, but we're sacrificing ourselves in the meantime. And it takes a lot of effing courage, I feel like, to really be true to yourself and own it all.
Then if he
so
rejects
much, and it's not.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, then
And
if
it's
he
not always good
rejects
feedback.
you, he rejects you.
Yes. Yeah. Better
That's
to be
the
like
hardest
have the
thing.
real thing
Wait, you guys,
rejected.
that's what happened to me. I haven't been on a date in 18 months. I'm going to show up purely as myself. This man could not have gotten out of there faster.
Oh my God.
No, I was dying. I was laughing so hard on the way home. I was like,
How did you meet him? So let's get a little juice here.
Raya, like the fancy dating app.
Oh, sorry, which one?
My pictures are that Raya. It's just a fancy date. It's
okay. You can see I'm so out of that world. I've never even heard of it. Okay.
I mean, we sat down. 10 minutes later, he's like, "So I have to pick up my friend at the airport."
Oh my God. Oh, that's a good. Forget the pickup line. We here on Open Relationships, we're going to start coining the drop-off line. Okay, gotta go. Gotta pick up my friend at the airport. And the airport's in, San Diego.
Oh my! So what do you think So you showed your real self, and you and I have so much in common, but we both can make anybody love us, and we both can push anybody away. This is our like special gift, right? Like I'm comfortable being unpopular, but I'd really rather have you love me. But I can do both. So you're showing him your authentic self. What do you think it is about, let's not just say him, but maybe men in general when they're dating around our age? What is it that they don't like? What scares them?
I don't know. It is like just having a fully realized person who isn't going to flatter and blink at you. And like I said, all those things, I know exactly how to do them. I did them for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot stomach it anymore.
Oh, good for you.
I don't want to show you why I'm so cute. I want you to tell me why you are worthy of my time.
Amen, sister. Amen.
So, but I don't think men have, especially in LA, I don't think they have to do that. I think there's just a plethora of options who are much less complicated,
or they seem less complicated, because the reality is the other people who are bringing their representative to the date, they are going to get to know that real person eventually too. And there's going to be a problem, because I've never met anyone who's not complicated. It's just that some of us here in this room right now, all three of us, just wear it, right?
Yeah.
Those ones that are so good at seeming simple on the outside and seeming charming and perfect, it's a mess inside. Because we're all a mess inside.
Oh,
right?
When I did seem like, I was like, I have it all together. I wrote a book about having it together as a mom, which I'm so embarrassed about. I would never recommend that book to anybody. You can recommend my other books, but not that one. And it was just a sham. I was, dealing with appearing on TJ Maxx billboards, and then I would be awake at 4 a.m. thinking of death and talking to a banana that I would hallucinate lived in my cupboard because I had such bad insomnia that I wouldn't sleep for 3 days in a row. Really not okay, but everything seemed okay. And the reason I I remember in the wake of my daughter's birth was when I was like, you know what, I cannot pretend anymore. And that's when I started writing about, I think the first really like open post I wrote was about my decision to go on Zoloft. And at the time, now I feel like there's so much more acceptance and conversation on mental
that took
health.
a lot of guts to do that.
At the time,
back then.
it was like people are like, you're going to lose sponsors, like people are not going to want to work with. It was like a really big deal, but at the same time, it was like, who am I helping by like pretending that this facade is real life?
Well, and that's what I admire about you. It's what we try to do at Your Tango and obviously on this show. It's like, I feel like we give each other sincerely the greatest gift by being courageous and keeping it real and telling the truth. And I feel like the more we all practice that, the more it makes it okay for other people, right? And I think there are a lot of people, and, you know, obviously through the comments and so forth, you can see how many lives you've positively impacted because you had the courage to tell the truth. And I feel like that's how we affect change, like real change, right? That like showing up not as one-dimensional people pleasers, which is what is so effing dehumanizing, but it's also how I feel like so many of us have been acculturated. Instead, to say, no, I'm gonna be who I really am. And it's not going to please everybody, but that's okay because I'm doing it for myself and I'm doing it for my kids, especially for your daughter, but also for your son. So your son will attract whether he likes men or women, it doesn't matter. He'll like somebody. My hope and my expectation is that's like his mom who keeps it real.
Yeah.
I know. And wait, the thought of him dating someone like me, I'm like, would we get along?
Well, guys, here's the thing. I have children that are dating. Okay.
Yeah.
So my oldest, who's an adult, he seems to really like girls that cause him problems. And I was like, and he's not big problems, but little problems. And I was like, can't you just find like a cool, nice, chill girl? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, or are you like need something a little more exciting? And he's like, yeah. I wonder why. And just like pointing at the air around me. And I was like, of course he's not going to like a cool, chill girl because there's nothing chill happening in our house. Like not for 1 minute of any
that would
day.
be like, what's happening? Who is this alien? Yeah.
But what I'm hoping is that he's seen, and all my kids have seen, how I've been working in the last few years to be a better partner and bring some chill. Like, I know they're going to make mistakes and be attracted to people who are a mess or whatever, and they're going to be comfortable with a mess because their mother's a mess. But I also hope that they are.
By the way, you are not a mess. Okay, can I just chime in and say you are a gorgeous work in progress. You are not a mess.
Thank you.
You are not a mess. You are so successful and loving and amazing. But go on,
Thank
please.
you. I love you guys. But for real, I want them to be able to see me being like, you guys, I know I lost my shit. I'm so sorry. I'm so stressed about my book deadline. I'm so stressed about how late we are and how much the principal judges me or whatever it is. And I hope they expect that from a partner too, right? Yeah. They learn to take accountability, but I hope they learn to expect accountability.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's the hard,
totally. What you just said, like I snapped at my son the other day, screamed like in a way that I haven't really in years.
Oh, it's so hard.
And it and he like welled up, and he's not a cry. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And immediately was like, hey, A, totally unacceptable of me to ever talk to you that way. B, it was kind of, I was like, it was coming from, he was roughhousing with the dog, and the dog I was like, the dog's going to end up biting him, or he's going to end up hurting the dog, whatever. And I was like, it was coming from a place of feeling out of control and not knowing how to stop what I knew was going to end up with someone that I care about getting hurt. And that's not the right way to do it.
Right.
But that's where it was coming from. And I'm so sorry. And done. I mean, I just like, no one in my life talked to me that way when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We would
Apologies?
never have had,
never.
We couldn't have had anybody be accountable to us like that. And that is, and I also think about those families where, what if they are acting perfect on the inside? That's okay. What if some of those families we see online are acting perfect? Like, what if that thing we're seeing is what's happening inside? Like, let's just pretend that's possible. Maybe it is. What's going to happen when that kid who's never seen his parents argue, that kid's also never seen his parents make up? The kid that's never been snapped at has also never seen anybody have to take accountability for snapping. So I'm not saying it's good that we make mistakes. Obviously, we try not to, but they are getting a real lived experience and knowing how to make up, how to say they're sorry, how to make amends, and how to do better, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And this, again, is why I think it's so important to talk about all the crap, because we're sharing techniques. I remember writing about like money. Like, nobody talks about money, especially with their friends. It's just like a thing.
Yes.
Well, but I feel like people do again more now. But when in 2012, I was like, why aren't we talking about money? Like, I want my friends to tell me how they're buying a house, like how someone helps, like what are you making? How are you doing this? Like, how
I
are
want to
you
know
investing?
how they have those Bottega handbags. I want to
Bottega
understand.
handbag.
I want to understand, and I love that they have them. I'm happy for you, but can you just tell me how you manage that?
I can tell you where to get a good fake.
But I do feel like, I mean, the data that when we did your Tango did the comparison culture study, something that emerged is how many people are spending way outside of their means to do that. And yeah, there are some people that are very affluent, very well-to-do. God bless you people, Birkin bags, go for it. Although that just seems crazy to me. But I do think I feel like that it's like fake, right? Like you can't afford it, yet you've got this thing. Maybe you did spend $5,000. And maybe it pleases yourself. I'm not saying it's just for other people, but it does feel like there's more to the picture. And I feel like that's back to comparison culture. Hey, look at my fancy handbag. Oops, don't look at my bank account. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because what you see there will be like, oh. But I want to come back to something, Jordan, because you've talked about, you just even said it just a little while ago about control. And I feel like, this is something so many of us, especially people that come from families, generational trauma and addiction and so forth, and that are, and, let's face it, an addict is trying to control outcomes. Right? It's unconscious. It's not effective. It's self-sabotaging. But I would love for you to talk about your anorexia, because that also, I think, is so relatable. And you've been, again, generous with how open you've been. And I do think, again, back to us, when I think about it, your Tango, these stories that we publish that people are writing us letters and thanking us, and same in your comments, for telling the truth, having the courage to share these things that are so common. The common thing we keep hearing is, oh my gosh, thank you, because you've reminded me that I'm not alone. And when I think about how these insidious control issues come out and things like anorexia that are so common, I would just love you to talk about what that experience was like and how you overcame it.
So I grew up as a high achieving only child to, with plenty of generational trauma in there. And didn't think about my weight, was very, at all. I just didn't, it wasn't an issue. And then I went to Hollywood after graduating from college and became an actress. And for someone who is used to being able to, if I study hard, I'll get an A.
Yeah.
I know how to control good outcomes in my life, just work really hard and do a good job. And unfortunately in the acting industry, that's just, they're like, honestly, we wanted a brunette, and you're like, I can dye my hair. And they're like, like, so it doesn't, the amount of work you put in doesn't feel like it in any way has a direct relationship to the payoff. And that's in so many creative industries, you know? And so I began to look at the starlets of the time, which this was the early 2000s. And we all remember like Lindsay Lohan and Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. And that was the look was, and they were getting attention, remember what I wanted was attention. I wanted someone to pay attention to me, give me the job, listen to me. So I lost weight to the point where my hair fell out. I didn't have my period for like almost 2 years. Guess what happened? I went from getting best friend roles to leading lady roles, like that.
Oh my God.
Overnight. And, I mean, I'm sorry, not roles, auditions. Let's be clear. I wasn't
Yeah.
usually successful, but and it was just and I was dying. Like I was fainting and I like broke a rib from coughing because I had pneumonia. And,
Oh my gosh.
No, and
you were killing
but
yourself.
I was killing myself, but on the outside, everyone was like, "What's your secret?" And it
self-sabotage. Oh my
was,
God.
yeah.
Oh shit.
It was terrifying, and I wish I had a better, I didn't go to treatment. I literally got bored of myself. I was like, I think about food all day. It is so boring, and I'm so hungry. And I just was like, I just don't think that I care anymore. And I wish I had a better, takeaway for like how to help if that's happening to you. But I know that the lack of agency in my life to create the situations that I wanted to create, and I felt powerless to do anything. And so that is very, very clearly where that came from. And once I was able to start writing and sharing my voice and sharing about this, it takes away its power in a really significant way.
Yeah.
To say the hard thing out loud, I think, is to reclaim its power over you.
Yeah, 100%. Well, what's so fascinating to me about this is just, it's like having trust. And you said it a little, toward the beginning of our conversation. I think I followed up by saying, oh, the best is yet to come. Having that trust that your destiny wasn't to be an actor in Hollywood. And by the way, you're still young. Maybe you will be. I don't even know if that's what you want to do anymore. But it feels like there's a wisdom and a grace to say, okay, I went for it. And where it led me to was this path that ultimately, I mean, you embraced it and you healed from it. Like, I feel like there is something really affirming in that, right? And it didn't kill you, right? And here you are, super successful and influential. Like you got what you wanted. You wanted to have a voice. And I would contend, I mean, there are so many amazing actors who say wonderful things and look great, and then there are many that don't, that are completely, they're devoid of the kind of influence you have. So I mean, props to you, because you did it. You did what you wanted to do.
Thank you. It is an interesting thing, and I bet this is something that you guys can relate to at this juncture in life. I've been struggling with this lately. It's like I kind of did the thing. Like I talked about, like I was saying, I'm tired of hearing my own opinions about stuff.
Yeah.
Like I sort of did so much of that. And so now what?
Yeah.
And it's hard. And I have to remember I'm 42. To me, that feels like, obviously I'm like, I'm ancient, but I have another,
You're a baby.
life, whole another life
you do.
to live. And what do I want to do with that?
Yeah.
I truly don't know. And that's such a luxury and such a privilege, the luxury of choice. But it can also be so deeply paralyzing.
Yeah.
I remember thinking about that when we decided to buy our first house, like when our son was 1, and it was like, how do we pick? Like, how do you pick where you want to live when maybe you want to live in Italy? I don't know. Maybe Spain's really nice. I don't know. When you're just starting out, it can feel very scary to start down a road. And I'm sort of feeling that at this juncture as well.
Can I give you my advice?
Yes, please.
Thoughts? Do you know, Lao Tzu, that famous, I think, Chinese philosopher? He talks about, I'll have to send you the book, but chop wood, carry water. And I come back to that every day. And you're like, okay, what does that even mean? It's like you're doing the work of life, and it's almost like it doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's like it's Taoism, right? And I feel like there's so much in like Buddhist philosophy that it's like, you know what? You can do it in Canada, you can do it in Italy, you can do it here where I live in beautiful Colorado. It's like, it doesn't matter. right? And to me, because I have to, as a control, like somebody who's had major control issues and all the dysfunction that I've had to deal with, it's like I'll come back to myself because I give myself a fucking long list. I have to say it that time, like every day, I am giving myself an impossible set of things to do, and then I don't get them done, and then I say like, oh, what do I need to choose? And it's like, Andrea, chop wood, carry water. Like, you're gonna get done what needs to get done. Have that trust. And it's like they're enough. It's like for hardworking, intentional people like us, where, okay, we may not get it right in air quotes every day, but it's like, why are we judging every single step of the way? You know what I mean? Like it's like they say the arc of justice, or the arc of the universe is long, but it arcs toward justice. And there's that feeling of, for me, that it's just like, there isn't just one answer. There are so many paths that work, and having that profound sense of trust to say, I can do this beautifully wherever. And there are so many career paths, so many choices, so many, you know what I mean? And so that way, it's like, I feel like kind of being, again, a little bit repetitive here, but.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a really game-changing conversation with a friend who is in a very conscious polyamorous marriage. And my marriage was really struggling, and it struggles on and off. We're like two traumatized people who are just actively trying not to traumatize each other more. And so I was telling him, I was like, well, how do I decide if I really want to be married forever? And how do I decide if this, what if polyamory is the answer? What if it's a way that we distract ourselves? And I had all these things, and he goes, what if this is not the season to decide? Right. And I was like, such a relief. Like, oh,
yes.
This
do you
is
want
not
to do that today?
To decide. It doesn't, for right now, if I don't have the answer and I have a million questions and I don't even know where to start, this is not the season to decide. And that has been helping me so much. It's stuck with me for so long. This goes back to
what we were saying. Like, you're allowed to rest. I don't have to pick my next iteration today.
Yeah,
I can carry water and chop wood.
Yes, and it's like you're doing it right now. You're doing your next thing right now, even if it's not the next thing in 10 years. And like goes back to what the person told you at the retreat. And we talked to so many therapists who talk about our traumatized child, or Terry Real says the adaptive child. I loved that person telling you there's also this future self. We can look at the adaptive child and be a good parent to that person inside of us. But I also love the idea of like beaming forward to this wise me who can talk to today's me the way I can talk to my adaptive child me. That's beautiful. I've had so much wisdom.
Well, hard fought, lots of courage. So we often ask about people going against the grain. Right. And back to, it's like, it's so easy to go with a popular opinion, or, be the people pleasers. But so often it's when we have the courage to go against the grain, or to have a bit of a perception that's not as popular. Is there something that kind of in your work that you're just like, oh, this is the thing that I feel kind of passionate that is a little unpopular that you'd want to share with us?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I think when I was first starting out as an actress, I was like, I really like writing, and I really like photography, and I really like this and that. And my aunt said to me, you just have to pick. Just pick. And she was wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you're always wrong.
As it turned out,
did not, like, really did not have to pick.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the control thing. I want to be like, well, this is the next step, and this is the trajectory. My career has never followed anything approaching a trajectory. I mean, I guess yes, overall it's gone in a nice direction, but it hasn't been like, nothing that has happened was something I could have ever seen coming, ever in a million years. I would never have predicted any of this. And so I met this, Chen Andrea. I met this director, and we decided not to date, but we became writing partners. And now I write horror movies. So that was
okay.
A weird left turn. Yeah. And I don't, and people in my life are like, excuse me, what? Like,
Yeah.
is someone paying you? And I was like, no, I'm just going to write them. And my everyone's like, are you sure? Shouldn't you like maybe, I don't know, like do with the thing that you've done, like, and make a living? And I was like, no. And it's going like really well. And my philosophy from when I was quite young was always just say yes. Like if someone asks you to like go hang out, just say yes. Like even if you don't. And I've softened that because I never want to go out ever. So I don't say yes to that. But when presented with a cool new opportunity, just like fucking do it. Like try it. Just say yes. What is the worst that can happen? And so it's been really I know that I don't follow a traditional or really well thought out plan.
Well, good for you. I mean, it takes a lot of courage, right? And it's like I feel like you've mastered hustle culture, and and your work is so beneficial. But it's a good segue. I wanted to ask about your first feature film going into production with award-winning writer and director John Asher. Is that a thing? Am I getting that right?
Thing, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a horror movie?
It's Bigfoot.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh my gosh.
I know, I'm so excited.
Oh my God,
there's never been a scary Bigfoot.
Okay.
And the lore surround. I'm very interested in like horror. This is such a dorky thing to say, but I'm just very interested like horror lore and
oh my God,
the
it's like
background
a genre
of the
these days.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And so I wrote. It was his story, and I wrote it, and it's a really, really scary Bigfoot. And so I don't know. I stay out of the business side, so there are other people he's dealing with, chopping it around to people, and there's a studio that I don't know. I'm not privy to that stuff.
Right.
That sounds incredible, though.
Yeah.
I love that it's like you've got this thing that everyone knows about. So it's like, oh, it's the Bigfoot horror movie, or it's a scary movie about Bigfoot, and everyone's like, oh, I instantly know what that is. You didn't have to reinvent the wheel.
It's so weird because I also write some horror stuff with a buddy of mine, and we were just talking about how there hasn't been anything not only good Bigfoot related, but like doing it scary. And we were kind of joking around about like, oh, you could actually do that pretty well. And then you literally are shopping that around right now. That's so weird. That's like such a weird little Kismet moment.
It's in the zeitgeist.
That's so funny. I noticed I said the word Bigfoot, and you were like, "Bing."
Yeah, Brian popped in. Or like,
well, I was like, because you were already saying you're a horror writer, and I was like, well, that's already a weird little common thread we share. And then you were starting talking Bigfoot, and I was like, are you kidding me? That's so weird.
Well, that's the thing about being the type of women who do a whole bunch of different things, or a man too. But like you see it less with women. Is it's like Jordan can talk to us about heartbreak, divorce, parenting, whatever, and then also when you do a million different things and don't pick one path. Up pops producer Brian, and he's like, let's talk about horror films. There's always that little thread you can pull with so many different people when you actually allow yourself to do a bunch of kind of wild things, right?
I agree. And I always find that a little bit stressful because when you meet a new person, you're like, no, I swear there's more than the thing that you see. I swear. I promise.
Yeah.
Apparently, there is a very close link between horror and comedy aficionados.
Yep.
Because both serve as a form of anxiety relief. So people with very high anxiety levels tend to very much enjoy both of those genres, which I find
they're also
very
both
interesting.
intrinsically reliant on timing.
Oh yeah,
like both horror and comedy need timing to succeed.
I could see that.
Well, we should just touch on this since we're talking about the entertainment industry. When we did our prep call to talk about Jordan, two of the people who were on the prep call were so excited because they found out you were the original D on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I don't watch the show, so don't worry, we're not going to dive into it too deeply. But we were very excited to learn that you'd had this history in TV. And since we know each other in real life, I didn't know you'd done that. So like, is there a story behind that? No, not really.
Yeah, I mean, I was involved. We were all friends back in LA, and we, the four of us, and shot, a couple of demo pilots, and then FX picked, like literally, like in my apartment, like I held the boom and someone else acted, and then FX bought it, and then we shot a real pilot, And then I ended up being replaced with Caitlin Olsen, who is just a brilliant comedic actress. And I was replaced so after the pilot was shot, and it was due to a confluence of very complicated personal circumstances with, involving breakups and what can you do. But so it went from being that sort of precipitated my departure from Hollywood, because it was like, I finally got the thing. I got the big part. Like, oh my God, everything's gonna be fine now. And then to not continue on with the show, it's not just crushing, it's like being the fifth Beatle. I was like, I'm the fifth Beatle. I am. No, sure.
Yeah.
I have that one too. And then I, was sort of bumping around. My manager fired me. My agent fired me.
Oh, good Lord.
And I was bumping around Hollywood, and I got this, my agent fired me later. So she sent me on this audition for a Ron Jeremy vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Called
For the young
One-Eyed
people listening,
Monster.
that is a pornographic actor who was very famous in the
Turned
70s and 80s.
sexual
You not just say it was
predator.
called One-Eyed Monster.
It was
She
called
did say it was called
One-Eyed
Monster. That's what we just heard.
Yes, sir.
That's accurate.
So it was about a group of porn stars who are stranded on a snowy mountaintop when a alien life force invades Ron Jeremy's penis,
No!
which breaks off and attacks the porn stars through various bodily orifices. I swear to you, it's
Like
a movie. You can
like
rent
a-
it. It's out. It's out. And my agent's like, Jordan, they really want you for this. And I was like, wow, I think I quit.
Oh, God.
I'm out.
Oh,
I'm
I
out.
mean-
Bye.
well, good for you to just say, you know what, that, my integrity is worth a lot. And so
it's not worth that much. I wouldn't like if I was 25 years old right now, I'd be on OnlyFans. But it was just
Oh,
it was
gosh.
also just a really bad script.
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
kidding.
wow.
Sort of.
Well, but like, I'm sure if it was like, what's the one where Seth Rogen and some beautiful actress did, like, it was like Zach and Miri shoot a porno or something. And I'm sure if it was like that, where it was a really good script and it was funny and it was about human relationships and had some depth, it's not like you're like, I would never lower myself. You're saying this was
No.
not a good script and it was gross. And like you
It
had a
sounds
different
just ridiculous.
standard.
It was
Yeah.
it was gross. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, sounds-
I tried watching it one night actually in a hotel room. And I was like, I can't. It's too bad. Like, not a cult classic, just
bad.
So was that was what helped you feel like, okay, it's okay for me to be done with this phase in my life, or was that earlier?
Kind of. It was the double whammy of losing the show, and then and walking around town and seeing your ex-boyfriend and your friends on billboards. With it, that took a very long time to recover from. But what helped was not just helped, like I would never have written the books that I've written and connected with all the people I connected with. And I know that people, a lot of people are like, well, but surely you wish that you had been, made millions of dollars and were famous on this show. And I'm like, yeah, not really.
Mm-hmm.
We all think life would be easier if that big success thing had happened. But it's always like, you don't know what else would have changed. What do they have, that butterfly effect or whatever? So, okay, so you say you starred.
Yes.
Yeah, say you had married whomever it was that you were dating, whatever it was, that you can't even ponder it when it comes down to it, because what would be different? What different children would you have? Would you not have? Would you not be a mom? Would you not live here? Would we not be friends? Who knows?
I mean, would you
I was literally, I
due
put
to
in my
anorexia?
notes for today's, I think about that often. I think I'd be dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, when I
I think I would have
about-
gone. I was also doing drugs at the time.
Oh,
I was very in the Hollywood thing, and I
Mhm.
think becoming successful would have been a death
yeah,
sentence.
no,
Honestly,
I mean,
at that point in my life.
like to me, I feel like going back even to that story that the woman that you befriended that was a troll, and how that helped you become so much wiser and more emotionally mature. I mean, it feels like that, that too. So often I feel like the thing that we so desperately want, when we don't get it, if we have that wisdom and trust, that and can just be a little patient, that we can see, oh, okay, that's why this wasn't supposed to
Yes.
happen, and this other thing. And we can self-sabotage and just pine for the past and just wish that thing happened, but it's like
It didn't.
Yeah. And it's like,
Yep,
okay,
it just
so
didn't
now
happen.
there's this other amazing, amazing outcome that we can embrace and own, right? And so I feel like so much of what your, story after story that you share, just it feels like it's the kind of the ultimate empowerment. Like, all right, well, this is what I'm going to do with this setback, and I'm really inspired by that.
And it's
It does feel
ongoing, right?
empowering. It is
Mhm.
ongoing. That's what I was going to say. So the constant reinvention and the saying yes and the acknowledging the butterfly effects. I was thinking this morning. So Joanna and I met through a friend connected us over text message. I am
Yeah.
not in the habit of going out to dinner, like generally, and certainly not with people I don't know. Like, why? And I was like, I like her. And we went out to dinner.
Oh, nice.
And now we're friends. And now I'm here talking to you. And who knows what ripple effect, and you
Totally.
just don't know. Like all of these small yeses,
You got to be open to it,
they
right?
add up.
That's the
Yeah.
whole point.
And
for us, we
you're
open our
like,
hearts.
the interesting thing about us too is that the friend that connected us is the least bullshit artist person you'll ever meet. And so when
nice.
you have those people in your life, you learn to value them.
Right.
But when she says
You
you
trust
have
their
to meet
judgment.
Jordan, I'm like, I must actually have to meet Jordan. And that's that other thing about being present in your life is like, if Jen says I have to do something, I probably have to do it. And thank goodness, because then I met Jordan. I trusted her on that because I too don't want to leave my house.
Too much to do. We have too much to do. Okay, we got to wrap up. Speaking of too much to do, we got to wrap this show. Jordan, you are wonderful. I am so glad to have met you. Thank you so much for your incredible work, your writing, for all your openness and courage on our show. I look forward to having you back. I look forward to it. Does your new film have a name yet, or is it just Scary Bigfoot? The working title.
Bigfoot.
Scary Bigfoot. Oh, just Bigfoot.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, we're gonna look forward to.
I have to mention that we have a series of humor books, big activity books. Which
Yes.
you mentioned,
Oh, yes. Thank you.
For divorce. There's for divorced people, teacher people, anxious people, pregnant people, digital detox. There's companion journals, and since we're leading up to the holidays, this is our get your bestie the anxiety book.
I'm buying everybody the digital detox book for Christmas. Just so you know, I'm literally ordering 6.
What's the website for that?
Amazon or wherever books are sold.
Yeah, go to Amazon.
Well,
and oh my gosh, it is amazing to see you have thousands of very positive reviews. It's so impressive to see this series hitting such a strong chord with people. I feel like it's so actionable and valuable to people. So congratulations. It's not easy to write one successful book. It's even harder to write many successful books. So congratulations.
Thank you, guys. It's such a pleasure talking to you.
All right, come back to Open Relationships. That's our show, folks. Thank you. And let's see. We are going to remind everybody, if you want to email us, you can email us at openrelationships@yourtango.com. We would be so grateful if you followed us, if you liked us, if you leave comments for us. We'll take it all. If you don't love what you're hearing or seeing, let us know. We want to make it better for you.
Give us advice.
Give us advice. Yeah, we'll take that advice. And subscribe on YouTube or iHeart or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, that's it. This is a wrap for Open Relationships, Transforming Together. See you guys next time.